So let's take a look at the extreme value theorem and the intermediate value theorem. Now I won't be solving any problems in this video, but I will be giving examples and I will explain what each of these theorems mean. So as mentioned before, EVT is the extreme value theorem, but what it really means is that if a function is continuous on a closed interval from a to b, then the function has to have at least one absolute max and min value. So looking at the graph of f of x here, the graph is continuous throughout the interval from a to b, and it is a closed interval, meaning the endpoints are defined and there are no holes at the endpoints. So in this case, the graph of f does follow the EVT, and so the function must have at least one absolute max and min, and it does right here. At point B there is a max, an absolute max, and at point A there is an absolute minimum value. Now an example that does not follow the EVT would be the graph of g of x. And if you take a look here, the left endpoint is clearly defined, so it's closed. But notice how the right endpoint goes on forever to negative infinity, so it is not defined. So the right endpoint is not closed. And also the function is not continuous, since there's a discontinuity right here. So in other words, because it does not follow the EVT, then it does not need to have at least one absolute max value and one absolute min value. Now looking at the intermediate value theorem, it states that if a function f of x is continuous on a closed interval from a to b, then f of x, or the function, must equal every value between f of a and f of b at some point in the interval. Now this may seem a little bit confusing, but a simple example of this is your height. So let's say you are 6 feet, or you were 6 feet tall 3 years ago, and now you are 6'4". At some point within those 3 years, you had to have been 6'1", 6'2", and 6'3". You can't just jump from 6 to 6'4" all of a sudden. So now looking at the graph of f of x, f of x is continuous from point A to point B. It is a closed interval since both a and b are defined, as the left endpoint a is -2, -8, and the right endpoint b is 2, 8. Now because the function f of x is continuous and it is on a closed interval, then the y value from the interval point A to point B must take on every number between -8 and 8 at some point in the interval. So it must equal -7 somewhere, -6, -5, or 1, 2, 3, all the way to 8. Now if I look at this one, notice how there's a discontinuity here. And since it's discontinuous, this function does not need to take on every y value from point A to point B.